You're listening to episode 3 of MegAnne's Not a Parent But, and today I'm giving you an eagle eye view of the C.L.E.A.R method. The C.L.E.A.R method was created to make parenting more simple, more kind, more enjoyable for you. And I built it because I saw that there was a giant hole in the parenting space, that clients were coming to me saying, I'm doing all the things, I've read all the books, and it still feels so confusing. And then we would take some time to kind of unpack and kind of recalibrate, and then things felt easier and more doable. And today I wanted to share kind of the framework, explain how I got there, and because I find it exciting to share. And if you're like a behind the scenes nerd like I am, I think you'll enjoy it too, along with giving you kind of a guidebook on how to apply this podcast with the Instagram that accompanies it. So I hope you enjoy. I'm so excited to share this with you, and let's get into it. Hey friends, welcome to MegAnne's Not a Parent But, the podcast hosted by me, MegAnne, and I'm a parenting coach with almost 20 years experience helping parents raise their children, especially the strong-willed ones. I have been described as the perfect blend of Mary Poppins meets Nanny 911, and I love to help parents drink hot coffee, stop yelling, and learn how to truly enjoy raising their strong-willed children. My goal is by sharing my views, my beliefs, and my tips that I can help empower you to parent more confidently in removing fear-based punishments and learning how to lean into the kind and firm approach of parenting with kindness. So glad to have you here. If you love what you hear, make sure to let me know by taking a screenshot and sharing on Instagram. My handle is Be Kind Coaching, and I love a tag. I like to say that it's my love language, and I want to connect to you. I want to know, what parts did you like? What parts resonate with you? What parts do you feel like everybody needs to hear? I want to know that. So let me know. So make sure to hit subscribe so that you never miss an episode. All right, without further delay, let's get into today's episode. Hey friends, today I am super excited to get into explaining what exactly the C.L.E.A.R method is. I want to share with you why I created it, and then I want to give you a breakdown of exactly what each of those letters mean of C.L.E.A.R, and kind of talk through how to best use this podcast and then my Instagram account so that this can become so easy and user-friendly. And that's my goal. So let's get into it. What is the C.L.E.A.R method? What even is this? So backstory, while I've been coaching, even when I was a teacher, I boiled down, I discovered through all of my learnings and trials and errors that, simply put, if you have a boundary or a limit or an agreement or a routine, and when children are allowed to play freely in that, meaning they are able to have agency and autonomy and feel empowered, then natural consequences become such a guiding force that a lot of the pushback and struggle and negotiations, they kind of naturally go away because there's no, you know, negativity fueling the machine. And so when I went into starting Be Kind Coaching, that was my goal. I wanted to share, like, oh my gosh, like this is so possible when we can kind of do these 3 steps, when we can kind of look at our limits, look at our routines, look at what's going on, look at the mechanisms at play, work out how to inspire, empower, allow agency and autonomy to live and thrive, and then match that not by rewards and punishments or stickers or kind of bribes, but really match that with a natural consequence. Then I wanted to share that. Like, then it became so easy for my clients and for other friends and members to start to take action. So it was always a priority to me to create brand, make this something that's so user friendly, so simple to start to implement. And that's when I took a master class for business. I took a business master class with a woman named Jen Casey. And in her masterclass, backstory, I'm part of James Wedmore's Business by Design group, which is just mindset. It's kind of like what I do for parents, but for business owners. So I'm a member of it. Anyways, during this masterclass, Jen talked about how to create a framework and how she loves alliteration and how it's got to be something that's really easy to use. And through taking this masterclass, I was like, well, I know kind of like the mechanisms at play here are limits, choice, and consequence. But LCC, like that's not sexy. Like it doesn't inspire me to take action. It doesn't like grab my attention. So I was really struggling with this, and I had reached out to some of my mentors. I reached out to my mastermind group and just kind of I said like, hey, I'm really working on this. Like, I know I want to start a podcast. I know I want to do these things, but LCC is like not like that's not something that like people do. Like Mel Robbins has 5 seconds. Other people that we learn from, they have like their method. Positive discipline is a method. Montessori method is a method. Like I wanted to create like the MegAnne method, and I wanted to do it. I just, I was struggling, and so they inspired me to just, everyone I talked to was like, just noodle on it. Just let it sit and simmer and marinate and it will come. And about a month ago, I was driving down the road and I kept hearing Brene Brown in my head saying, clear is kind. It just kept loudly coming. Clear is kind, clear is kind, clear is kind. And I tend to, when I get into these moments of like noodling on things, I will drive with no music on because I'm just like talking to myself in my head. Anyway, so I'm driving, I hear this over and over again, and I say out loud, I'm like, what is it? What does it mean? And then it just hit me like a lightning bolt. Clear is kind. And that's when I was like, oh my gosh, my framework is clear. When we can be a clear parent, when we can be a clear teacher, when we can be clear in our relationships, that's when all of these like power struggles and tantrums and meltdowns can kind of subside and we can get through them together, feeling connected and strong and kind. And that's when it came to my method, the C.L.E.A.R method was born. And so now I'll tell you what it is. The C.L.E.A.R method stands for, the C stands for connection, meaning, emotionally intelligent, connected, feeling positive, seeing everybody with a positive sentiment, seeing the best of intentions, knowing, we only do the best that we know how to do. So building an emotional validation, all of those, development, all of that kind of is homed under the C of connection. The L stands for limits, which means, boundaries, limits, personal limits, family rules, guide points, agreements. I say morning routines, evening routines, bedtime routines, dinner time routines, any sort of routine that we do over and over again, that will be homed under limits. E stands for empowerment. And so this means choices. This is choice giving. This is decision making. This is allowing for free choice and allowing for children to build agency and autonomy. That's all housed under empowerment. And then A for accountability. And so that is understanding that you're going to have follow through. We're going to follow through with what we say. We're going to have the natural consequence of our choices. And then R stands for recovery. Those touch points where we reconnect, we hug, we share, we talk, we kind of close the loop on things so that we can apologize and forgive and feel back to feeling connected. And so that struck me, it hit me, and I was like, oh my gosh, clear is kind. When working with children who have power struggles and who push back and who we label as strong wills in a negative light, and we think like, oh, they'll never listen to me or they don't listen to me. The question we need to be asking ourselves is, are we being clear? Are we a clear parent? Do we have the tools to be clear? And so that's why I started this podcast, starting in season 1, you'll start to see that each episode kind of goes down. It spells clear backwards. It will be an episode on recovery, then an episode on accountability, then an episode on empowerment, followed by limits and connection. And then the 6th and 12th episodes will always be around discipline, just kind of like broad stroke discipline. And then it will repeat. It'll be, RAELCD. That will be kind of the framework. So each week you will have an episode with tools and stories and tips around that, key pillar, which is exciting. My word in 2020 on my vision board is organize. And I'm so jazzed that this feels so, it feels so good for me to finally have this organized in this really easy to implement way. Brain break moment. I know I can go way deep and I can get there quickly. So let's take a little pause, a little moment to take a deep breath in and out. And take a moment to let you know that this episode is sponsored by me, MegAnne, and it is brought to you by my amazing parenting program vault. You can find it at my website at bekindcoaching.com. And the parenting vault is chock full of all of my programs and resources to help you gain the confidence, the connection, and the community that you're looking for in helping you raise your kind family. Make sure to go and check it out. And inside you can find my free parenting style quiz called How Kind Is Your Family? So it's 7 easy questions. You can go and take it and find out, are you the too kind parent, the too firm parent, or the kind and firm parent? Just make sure to download the guide so that you can get all of the assets and the liabilities delivered right to your inbox. All right, without further ado, let's take one more deep breath and get back to it. In, out. Let's go. This also, along with the podcast, connects back to my Instagram account at Be Kind Coaching. Each week, as the podcast on that key pillar is released, that whole theme for the week will be around that in support. So it can kind of be the supplementary to the podcast episode. And I broke it down in a really easy to see visual of colors. So when you go to my Instagram account, any post that has purple, those will be all of the posts around recovery. Those will be the tools of forgiveness, apologizing, reconnection, hugs, touch, all of those kinds of tools on how to recover from a meltdown, a blowout, any sort of big emotion. Those will be posts that are purple. So moving from there is the tools that you'll see in blue, which will be all about accountability. Those will be the tools of follow through, of natural consequences, understanding the difference between a logical consequence, an imposed consequence, a natural consequence, how to implement them. All of the stories around taking accountability, that will be all of the posts will be in blue. All of the posts in green, which is my personal favorite color, is empowerment, which I love. I love when adults can empower children. And I just think in order to raise an empowered future, we need to empower them from the start. So all of the tools of empowerment, of choice giving, of encouragement, of limiting praise, of safe failures, all of those moments will be in green on my Instagram account. So when you go through there and you see all the posts that are in green, you will know that it is a tool of empowerment. The next is yellow, and that is limits. So routines, bedtime routines, any sort of routine, morning routines, agreements, boundaries, how to set a boundary, how to hold a boundary. That will be in yellow on my Instagram account. Those will all be about limits. Then all the posts that you see that are orange will be those tools of connection. How can you start to bring in and build emotional intelligence? How can you build emotional validation and really connect to your child. And then red is saved for discipline, understanding what discipline is, how it differs from punishment, and just kind of anything in red is that key foundational kind of knowledge. And so that's how I see this podcast and this account being used together to kind of reach a wider scope and make it just super easy to use. Of course, I will be enrolling in my programs and have all of that information up there as well throughout the year. But I want to, make this a conversation that as many people who are open to it can start and can begin and can start finding other parents, because that's something that I hear a lot, is that it's just once we start this work, once we start having these conversations, then it can become really lonely because we're kind of woke. As I remember, as one of my first dad clients ever said, he goes, I feel like I'm woke to parenting. And once we feel woke to parenting, then it's something that can feel isolating. So my job and my role, and something that I take very seriously, is to hold a space that as soon as someone says, I'm ready to learn, I just don't know how, this account, this podcast can fill that need so that it's more approachable, it's more palatable. So that's what I wanted to share. That's the C.L.E.A.R method. And every episode will come out on Thursdays. And yeah, like I said, throughout the week on my Instagram account, you'll be able to see kind of graphics that you can share. I'll be doing stories and share lives just to add in and boost and supplement the content discussed in this podcast. I thought it was important to share this. I know it feels like very formal, felt very stiff for me to share this, but I think it's kind of like the user guide on how to use this podcast and how to use the Instagram account that's attached to it, so that it can be such a resource. That's my goal. I always want to be a resource, and so I think it was important that in episode 3, we talk about it. We've set like a very solid, firm foundation. We all know what's going on. We all kind of feel transparent in how the process will go and what to expect. And yeah, that's episode 3. So just to recap, um, this podcast will be circling and surrounding and always be pulling from the C.L.E.A.R method, which is the method I created based off of Brene Brown. So thanks, Brene. Clear is kind. And a bonus is, as we move through, as you learn, as you start practicing, clear, like C.L.E.A.R, that's just the natural steps. Those are the milestones that you have to take. It's impossible to hold someone accountable if they didn't have choice. It's impossible to hold someone accountable if they didn't know the limit, or if it was never shared or never taught. And it's impossible to just set a limit if you don't have connection or buy-in. And so understanding it'll make it easy to know where the hang up is in your relationship or in your family by asking yourself, am I being clear? Do I have connection? Do I have buy-in? Have I set a limit? Is there choice? Or is there a carrot being dangled in front of them? Am I trying to get them to do something? Am I following through? Am I being accountable? And then how can I recover and reconnect so that we can move forward? It's so good, guys. I can't wait. I can't wait to start. So yeah, like I said, every Thursday an episode will drop, and then every day I'll be showing up on Instagram. So if you have any questions, or if you want to share any insights, send me a DM. I'm here and always open to connecting. Duh. All right. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you next week, which we'll be talking about the first episode of season 1 starting next week. And it is all about recovery. So it begins. All right. Hope you have such a wonderful day. Bye, friends. All right, friends, you have been listening to MegAnne's Not a Parent, but the podcast for parents raising the strong-willed. I am so thankful that you have taken a little bit of time out of your busy day to settle in and have a chit chat with me. It's literally my favorite thing to talk about. I can talk about it all the time. So that's why I started this podcast. So thank you so much. If you found value in this podcast, please, please, please do me a favor and take a screenshot and share it with me. You can share it on Instagram. You can share it on Facebook. Just make sure to tag me so that I can see it. Like I said, my love language in episode 1, my love language is gifts of quality time, and a tag on social media or a review of this podcast or any sort of interaction and engagement, man, you're filling my love bucket. So thank you so much. I can't wait to chat and connect to you, and see you next time. Bye, friends.